Good morning, and welcome to the Lone Star Weekly Business Hour. Your host, Rick Schissler, is a Silver Fox advisor who personally has over 40 years of experience as a serial entrepreneur. So sit back, pull out your pad and pencil, and get ready to take notes as we join Rick Schissler in his Lone Star Weekly Business Hour.
Good morning. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor, welcoming you to a very special edition of the Weekly Business Hour. We have three guests with us this morning, and we're going to be talking to each one of them individually, and then towards the end, we'll collectively visit with them. These are three special ladies, three special entrepreneurs in the broadest sense of the word. First of all, we're going to be visiting with Sandra Louvier, and Sandra is the founding director of the Houston Community College Center for Entrepreneurship, and then we'll be visiting with Susan Marriott, who won first place in a recent business plan competition, and then Bon Crowder, who placed third in the same competition. But that's just a short entry, and we'll get a little more in detail as we go. But before we get started this morning, I want to thank all our nonprofit partners. You are a core part of the mission that we have here at the station, and we look forward to helping you in any way we can to accomplish your mission. And if anyone listening works with or volunteers with a nonprofit and they've not already connected with Lone Star, then please reach out and talk to us. You can contact me personally if you'd like, because I work with the volunteers and nonprofits here at rschissler, SCHISSLER, at IR Internet Radio, irlonestar.com. So please let us know if you're out there in the Montgomery County area. We'd love to have you join our nonprofit partners because that, again, is one of the core missions or core parts of the mission that we have here. And remember to always check our website at www.irlonestar.com for upcoming events that you and your family can enjoy. So let's get to the show. This morning I'm going to skip my normal tips and ideas that I try to provide because these ladies, I think, have a lot to offer and a lot of great information to share. Titled today's program is Education and Entrepreneurship. You usually think of an entrepreneur, someone who starts a small business, as someone who's got a job somewhere, or they just kind of fumbling around or have a good idea and they just go out and start a business. And one of the things that does happen, and we've talked about it on the show before, is they often fail. And I believe personally, based on experience and working with a number of entrepreneurs and small business people, that there's a part out there that they miss, and that is education. And there's education out there to be had for folks who are thinking about starting a business, becoming an entrepreneur. And I think one of the best sources in our community is provided by our community college system. And that's why I've asked Sandra here today, who was, as I mentioned earlier, the founding director of the Houston Community College School of Entrepreneurship. Welcome, Sandra, to the program today.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Talk to us a little bit about how that program got started.
Well, in 2009, I was invited to come start the Center for Entrepreneurship as the outgrowth of this business plan competition. HCC had partnered with a community partner called New Spring, a nonprofit entity dedicated to empowering small business owners. And so what New Spring brought to the table were mentors and training sessions to help small business owners as they move through the competition to refine and polish business plans. And I was brought in the second year of the competition to create the Center for Entrepreneurship to provide empowering training prior to the competition so that when people came into the competition, they were better prepared to deal with the rigors of a real-world business competition such that they were polishing plans that were truly ready to go seek funding to either start or grow their businesses.
So you really provided some core education through this business plan competition.
That's right. First, we started with workshops and seminars to call forth people from the community, because what I realized, and I had a misconception about community college, most people think that perhaps it's 18, 19-year-olds that are coming through to take a couple of years of courses and then move on to a 4-year degree college. And sure, we have a lot of those, but the whole world seems to be moving through community college these days. They'll come at varying stages of their careers to take what they already know. At least in the Center for Entrepreneurship, we found we were attracting people who want to take what they already know and learn what they need to know to turn it into a business. And so we created different pathways to meet them at their levels of sophistication. So some people come in and take one course, and others come in and take our 3-course business plan certificate, and yet others will come in and take our 8-course certificate of entrepreneurship. So what we did was we created workshops and seminars to call forth people from the community that were specifically interested in entrepreneurship. And we found we were attracting those 18 and 19-year-olds, but also people in their 20s, single mothers, families with small children, corporate fleers, veterans, empty nesters. So all ages, all types. And so we found that the best way to do that was to meet them at their experience level, to feed them into a competition that could then help them take it even further.
Well, and you used the word earlier, polish. I've been blessed the last couple of years to be involved in that competition as a judge, and I've learned a lot more each time I've participated. But it really, you're really helping somebody, from my perspective, really just put it together. I talk a lot about planning around here, and I'm a one-page planner. That's what I call it. I said, "Where's your one-page plan?" And people say, "Plan? What plan?" But in a broad sense, you're helping people develop a plan. In the case of competition, a business plan, but help them organize themselves.
That's right.
Is that a fair statement?
It's absolutely fair. We have 2 different pathways into the competition. One is to take this one prerequisite class that's a requirement for applying for the competition. And so some people will take it at the end of the 3-course certificate or the 8-course certificate, or some people will come straight in and just take that one course. And the outcome of the course is that they've drafted a business plan. And the plan can either be to start a business or to grow an existing business. But what you find when you give yourself a structured timeline is at the end of the deadline, when you meet the goal, you realize there are other things that you would like to do, or you could have gone deeper. And so that's what the competition is all about, is helping them go deeper. Because often they're creating plans to go seek funding, but they need the plan for themselves too, to understand where they're going, to have concrete goals and well thought out goals, understanding their competitive supply. And so the plan is as much for them as it is for them to go seek funding.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are real life businesses. I need to point that out. In some cases they're ideas, but I mean, they're in a sense, it's not just an exercise. It's an opportunity for people to put a business together, or again, to polish, to use your word, sharpen their existing business. Is that correct?
That's right. Well, they all should be coming in with a plan, already created some draft of a plan, but they have different. HCC has been very successful since 2009 when we started the business the Center for Entrepreneurship. So first came the competition, then the Center for Entrepreneurship, and as a result of the success of the workshops and seminars and the subsequent business plan competitions, we were very fortunate to have been the 4th city in the nation to win the 10,000 Small Businesses Program, which is a grant-funded program by Goldman Sachs, and it allows existing entrepreneurs to create growth plans to grow their businesses to the next level. So in the last 2 years, we've allowed people to come into the competition if they've either created a plan in the class that I mentioned earlier, or if they've already graduated from 10,000 small businesses. So the competition is most definitely for either startups or existing businesses that want to take their company to the next major level.
Now, 10,000 small businesses, just to kind of digress a bit, that's another educational program as well.
That's right. It's for small business owners that have been open 2 years, have annual revenues over 150,000, all the way up into the millions, and at least 4 full-time employees. So we found that small business owners can hit a roadblock at that level of growth because they can't run the business the way they did as a startup before. They can't wear all the hats anymore. They have to learn to delegate. They have to create more processes and systems to position themselves to grow to the next major level. And so Goldman Sachs helps small business owners create growth plans to do that. And we've invited graduates of that program to come through the competition well after they've graduated from Goldman Sachs, so they can take that plan and polish it up, and especially if they're positioning to go get money. And so we've had, I think, 10 classes now. The 10th class is underway right now, and by the time it graduates, we'll have 300 small business owners who've graduated from that program. And so those who have graduated from earlier cohorts will come through and take that plan, which should be a living, breathing document. Once you create a plan for your business, it should never just be in your briefcase or in a file cabinet. It should be updated as you achieve your goals or as you reposition and change your mind and do something different. You should be planning very strategically about how to implement that plan. And so what we're trying to do is provide pathways for small business owners not to come through once with HCC, but continue their growth no matter at what level they're at.
That's interesting. And I think one other important thing that needs to be pointed out to people that would consider getting involved with an educational process, which I personally would encourage and as much as I could to someone, is a lot of the folks involved with this, the teachers, they're even mentors in this business plan competition. These are real life business people. I mean, they're guys and men and women who have scars from, they've been in the battle. They know what works, what doesn't work. I mean. Absolutely.
Well, in fact, our master trainer in the business plan competition is Jack Berry, and he's a serial CEO. He's taken 4 companies global, and he really knows how to get right to the nitty gritty of what is weak in business plans often. And that's why we decided to educate people prior to coming into the competition, because Jack Berry's ready to take them much deeper and challenge them on in deeper levels. And the mentors in the competition are that way too. They counsel and they guide, but they don't do any writing. They'll ask the tough questions. So it's not like a Shark Tank in that those tough questions get asked one-on-one by personal mentors, 2 mentors per team who are assigned to a team as it moves through the competition.
Well, this whole educational idea, and I hope our listeners that have had a chance, I mean, that was a lot of information in a short period of time, Sandra, but there are wonderful educational opportunities out there. Houston Community College has really been at the forefront. In fact, one of the things, and I need to mention this before we go to break, that in 2013, you and HCC were selected to serve as ambassadors to a program, and you won the National Entrepreneur Impact Award from this organization involving a number of colleges around the country.
That's right. It's the National Association of Community Colleges for Entrepreneurship. And Dr. Hodges won Entrepreneurial President of the Year for the whole U.S. And I was honored to win the Impact Award, but I felt like I was accepting it for everyone who's gone before me in creating these programs. It's just an amazing opportunity to be a part of what HCC is doing, because our entrepreneurial initiatives just keep snowballing to greater success.
Which I am personally so pleased, because people are getting education, and hopefully those failure numbers that have been so famously repeated over and over of new businesses will start to come down some. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, we're going to visit with Susan Marriott. She was one of the participants and actually won this past year's business plan competition that you've heard a little bit about from Sandra, and talk to her a little bit about her business and her participation in the Houston Community College program with New Spring. So please stay with us. We'll be right back in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Joyce with the Corner Pub in downtown Conroe. We're located at the corner of Simonton and North Main, just across the street from the courthouse. The week starts off Monday with open mic, hosted by Alan, and Tuesday nights open mic, hosted by Jeremy Bankhead. And on Thursday evening, McFarland Jams. There's nightly drink specials available every night, all night. And don't forget, live entertainment every weekend. To see a full list of events, visit our website at thecornerpubinconroe.com. So come join us at the Corner Pub, where the deli is open late.
You're listening to Lone Star Internet Radio. Now for your daily weather report. Today's Monday, June 2nd, 2014. Today's weather forecast is a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly sunny with a high near 89. Later tonight, it'll be partly cloudy with a low around 70.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Donald Public Relations. You've seen the billboards. That's right, Wicked Publicity. Contact them today at 832-326-1965 and visit wickedpublicity.com.
Have
Have you ever wandered around a parking lot trying to look like you actually know where you parked? Then you'll love the Mark and Cindy Show. If buying toilet paper with aloe vera is the most exciting thing you're going to do today, then you'll love the Mark and Cindy Show. Even if you haven't tweeted, you'll still love the Mark and Cindy Show.
How about twerking?
Ew, that was one step over the line, Mark.
Well, you said toilet paper.
Look, we want listeners to tune in to the Mark and Cindy Show at 10 o'clock every weekday morning here on Lone Star Internet Radio.
The Mark and Cindy Show, it's like visiting with your best friends for coffee, except we will never stiff you with a check.
And one of us always knows what she's talking about.
Well, okay, but it's still called the Mark and Cindy Show. You know that.
We'll see. The Mark and Cindy Show. Tune in to Lone Star Radio every weekday morning at 10 o'clock.
Welcome back to the Weekly Business Hour. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. And as promised, we have Susan Marriott here. Susan is a PhD professor at Baylor College of Medicine in the Department of Molecular Virology, boy, I'll get that out, and microbiology and molecular and cellular biology. Boy, Susan, that's a long, long name.
It's a lot of titles, I guess.
A lot of titles. And I'm not going to even begin to get into Susan's bio. You're a highly educated, highly respected individual in your field. I can tell that. Susan has taken what she's, if I can say this, and if I say it wrong, please correct me, has taken her background as a professor and working in the area of microbiology, I'm shortening the name a little bit there, and has turned it into a real business called Bioscience Writers. Susan, what does Bioscience Writers do?
So our company provides scientific communication support services for investigators around the world, really. We can help scientists in any phase of their writing needs, and writing, science depends on writing. Scientists must write up the results of their research and publish them in journals that other scientists will read in order to advance our understanding of science. They also need to effectively write to get funding for their research, just like a business plan. They must write a plan for their scientific goals and get agencies to fund that work. And those are very tedious, time-consuming, and challenging activities, especially for scientists who aren't perhaps native English speakers, and there are many, many of them. So even people who do speak English as their native language often are not particularly great at expressing themselves clearly in writing and don't even enjoy it. They don't like to spend the time needed to do it well. So that's what our company does, is provide support for individuals domestically and internationally to help them achieve those goals.
So you help them write their, say, grant request. Uh-huh. And from what I recall from the business plan competition, you have a real high success rate. In other words, you improve on what I could do, say, if I was a scientist and write it myself.
Yes, we've been really been able to leverage the quality of support staff that we have in order to help scientists really improve their chances of getting funding. The typical funding rate right now at the National Institutes of Health ranges in the 15 to 18%. That means 85% of the grants that are submitted are not funded, and that's just a waste of time, and they have to be resubmitted. In our company, we can achieve a 30% success rate overall, and in some institutions, we can get as high as 70% of the grants that we've edited for people at that institution funded. This means not only the money comes faster to the scientists, so the science can proceed and the world benefits by learning more quickly, but also they don't waste time revising and resubmitting that grant again. So it is generating a lot of value for our clients.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And obviously, you're in that industry, if you will, of being a scientist. Mm-hmm. And what gave you the idea, though, to start the company? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a great question. Back in 2001, I was talking with some of my colleagues at Baylor about the need for this. We all write everything, as I mentioned before, our manuscripts and our grants. And in order to make them better and most competitive, we would exchange them with one of our colleagues down the hall and I would walk down the hall and say, could you take a look at my grant, give me some feedback before I submit it? And we would always agree to do that, but the time involved for really doing it well for a single grant might be 10 to 15 hours, and there's no one in my environment that can take 2 days off and do nothing else but help me with my grant. They may give a couple hours of time and make some comments, but it's not to the depth that makes it really beneficial. So around that time I started thinking, and my husband is a web developer and he was interested in starting a company. So we thought that we could probably develop a better way to provide this service where we could connect individuals who had scientific backgrounds as editors and writers with these individuals, scientists who need the work done. And the editors that we could hire would be able to spend that 10 to 15 hours of time and really benefit those scientists much more effectively than your colleague could. And they would, the premise of our company is that we are only using scientists to provide this service. So they are MDs, PhDs, veterinarian physicians, and we match the expertise of the editor with the scientist's document. So that way you really do get a colleague. It's like walking down the hall, but you're doing it through the internet.
And so basically you're providing these editing services that really aren't available anywhere else. I mean, I can understand surely that someone says, no, I don't have 10 to 15 hours. I'd like to help you. I'll help you move, but maybe not.
We do have competitors. There's other people who do this, so those services could be available elsewhere. But we differentiate our company in the level of expertise that we bring by exclusively using other scientists. We don't use people with just master's degrees or technical writing degrees without science background. We really focus on that scientific expert coming to bear on the document at hand, and that's why I think we can distinguish our success record much better than our competitors would. It's by that differentiating factor.
Well, let me ask you, what do you see in the future for your company? Where are you going to go from here?
Great. We've been exclusively internet-based up till now, and we want to go into more providing more personalized service. Even at the internet level, we try to be very personal with our clients. We know them, by name, they know us, and we communicate very well with them by email. But we think we can bring our services into universities, creating offices there that will make more personal connections, and we can understand the needs better and earlier in the process. Part of the problem with grant writing is someone contacts us 3 days before the grant is due. We can only help so much. If we can work with them a month or two in advance, because these documents take months to develop, we can get in earlier in the process and have much more impact, I think, and bring our success rates even higher. So our idea in the future is to move into more, we won't give up, of course, our internet base, but we want to go beyond that and try to develop more personal, face-to-face types of communication.
Well, and it seems like what you're saying is that you would actually know that somebody's applying for a grant when they start.
Exactly,
and
yes.
so that information would seem very critical, like you say, because of the time it takes to do this. That last-minute thing, I can't imagine. But let me ask you a question I like to ask all the entrepreneurs and business people that come on the show. What is your biggest challenge on a daily basis in running your business?
Well, there are many challenges in running a small business. For me, it's probably time and my time availability. I do still have a full-time job at Baylor, and I'm running the company, and we've been extremely fortunate to have very good employees, but we must depend on our employees for making decisions. They all are work very independently. They have decision-making power. So just finding the time to really manage them and work with them and empower them to do the things and help them to understand what our goals are and how we want to roll out different services is a big challenge.
Do you have a special process that you've developed for hiring the right people?
We do have a process. We can always get better at that process, and part of my involvement in some of the things like the Goldman Sachs program and the business plan competition have helped us immensely in understanding how to do that better. But yes, we have a process of them providing their CVs. We review it. We interview them. We have different people. Actually, they meet everyone in the company before we hire them, and everyone talks to them clearly about how things work. Our company is very different than well, let me back up. We are mostly hiring scientists. Scientists haven't had business experience and typically haven't worked in a business. So, and the type of business we do and the way we do it through the internet, it's not something many people have experience with. So we try to spend a lot of time talking with them about what it would be like to work for us. It's not a typical 8 to 5 job. We have clients around the world, so we are getting emails 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we have to figure out ways to handle that. So those are the way we hire people, is mostly by trying to educate them about what we do, and hopefully they are very interested in doing it.
You mentioned in that response to that question that being involved in the business plan competition and also the Goldman Sachs. So tell us a little bit about your involvement in the business plan competition that we've been talking about with New Spring and Houston Community College. A little bit about your experience with that.
Well, it was a great experience. When I participated in Goldman Sachs program, which was also fabulous, it was a single individual who went through that program, and that was me. And I tried to take this information back to our company again and empower the employees, trying to share as much as I could, but I don't think I was as effective as sitting in the class all day. I was really excited to think about joining the HCC New Spring Business Plan Competition, because in that program we could have a team that would participate, up to 5 individuals. So I decided to go for the gusto, and I took as many people as I could in my company. So myself and 4 other individuals came to the business plans. We had a team of 5. And this was fabulous for us because they got to then sit through the class, listen. They worked with the advisors alongside me, and we talked in a lot of detail about what we're trying to do, how we should do it. We got input from our employees. So again, in that process of making sure they understand everything we're trying to do and they can act on it independent of me needing me there at all times, it was a really fabulous experience. And we had amazing advisors in the process as well. We decided in the business plan to, again, bite off a big chunk, because we developed an entirely new plan separate from the one that we had developed for Goldman Sachs, because we have many ideas of things to do in the company. And I wanted to take advantage of this as a way to develop a new idea that we hadn't previously developed a plan for.
Well, and what I really appreciate, it sounds like you try to use this as a tool to educate your employees about business and generally, and also as you developed a plan, they were right in there with you developing the plan.
Exactly, and I think that they got very excited about this, and we want them to be excited about the company and see the opportunities and be able to seize some of those opportunities for growth that we have. And that was really a great chance for them, and they seem to benefit as I had hoped.
One last question before the break. How exciting was it to be the first place winner?
It was very exciting. I felt like the pressure was on because we had probably one of the larger teams in the group, and we were writers as our profession, and therefore I think the expectations were high, so I thought we better win this thing. But it was really a great experience, exciting. I was talking with Bon Crowder a few minutes before the show today about how busy it was that night of the awards, and there were so many people to talk to, and I wish that I had had more time to sit and talk more thoroughly with these great individuals who came up to congratulate us. And we've actually had a lot of other opportunities develop for us because of winning that as well. Part of it being here on the show today with you.
Well, I can't imagine if you go back to what that did for the morale, not saying your morale wasn't great to begin with, but a win like that was just, that's great. It's because you did involve the entire company, and I congratulate you on that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take another one of those breaks for commercials and public service announcements. And when we come back, we're going to have another guest. I mean, this show is really full of wonderful guests. Bon Crowder's going to join us and teach us a little math. So hang on to that thought, and please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you ever wonder what's going on in the business community? Are you looking for ways to get plugged in? Cassandra Roshan here, Director of Membership Development with the Greater Conroe, Lake Conroe Area Chamber of Commerce, and I would like to invite you to tune in to Chamber Chat. Tune in the first Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. so you will be in the know for all Chamber happenings for the month. Each month, the Chamber offers 2 free lunch and learn sessions, a networking breakfast, business after hours, membership luncheon, as well as many other special events throughout the year. I will give you a rundown of all programs and events for the month, as well as interview our speakers and hosts of these events. So grab a cup of coffee and tune in to Chamber Chat the first Tuesday of every month at 11 a.m. Chat with you then.
SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County is a 501c3 all-volunteer-based rescue and adoption organization with a no-kill policy for healthy and adoptable animals. Our goals are fourfold: to rescue and rehabilitate homeless animals, to provide a safe haven for the animals until a suitable adoption or foster care home is found or until they are reunited with their owner, to educate the public about the great need to reduce pet population, which includes the importance of having their pets spayed and neutered, and to further the cause for humane and responsible pet ownership, and to provide a low-cost spay-neuter clinic for people who are unable to afford to spay or neuter their pets otherwise. SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County encourages you to think adoption first. You can contact us at www.spcaofmc.com.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. Welcome you back to this week's Weekly Business Hour. We have been visiting with a number of guests today. We've got a very special show about education and entrepreneurship, and I hope you've enjoyed it because we've got a lot more to go in the second half of the show. Joining us now is Bon Crowder, the math mom. Need I say more, Bon?
Right.
Well, you're a lot of other things. I mean, you've got a wonderful background. You've got a business, a program called That's Math, which is, to me, at the time I heard about it at the business plan competition, was very intriguing. And you've done a lot of work. I mean, you've written over 500 articles, 200 videos. You're out there. There's no doubt about it, and you seem to be very savvy on the social media. I picked that up as well. So talk to us a little bit and tell us about your business.
So the company is called Math Philanthropy, and our product is called That's Math. It's kind of, it can tend to be confusing. We call it Math Phil for short because, it's that's a mouthful. So That's Math is actually all about trying to get parents to speak positively about math in the home. So Math Philanthropy's goal is to change society's perception of math so that kids can be more successful. So the big goal is really all those programs out there that are for kids to get them excited about math, to do well at math. We want those to be successful. But children go home to parents who say, ooh, I'm glad you're doing that because I've never been good at math. And you're like, oh, don't say that. Because, that makes a big statement to a child. Oh, mom's doing just fine as an attorney and she hasn't done math in 15 years. Oh, I guess I don't really need this. It's just academic, pardon the pun.
Well, it's interesting because that's exactly what I said to my kids. But I was blessed with having a wife who was a teacher, not necessarily a math teacher, but she knew math very well. But you're exactly right. I mean, we sort of cringe as adults, as parents, when our kids come home and talk about the new math or this math or whatever it might be. So you've got a big vision here. I mean, this is a huge, huge vision, and it's changing what society thinks about a particular subject. How did you come up with this?
Well, so way back in the day, 10 years ago or so, I've been teaching college math for a very long time, and it was always kind of a bummer. These students don't do very well in college algebra. They don't do very well in developmental math. Shucks, that's just sad. My daughter was born 4 years ago, and everything changed. All of a sudden, it was like, I can't let my children grow up in this world. And so it went from, gee, that's a bummer, to I have to change things. This can't be, the case. So some people want to, feed the world. I want to save the world mathematically, in a sense. So I started my personal blog called math4.com a long time ago, and my thought was I would just do videos explaining math. Well, I quickly realized that Even though I thought that there was no market for a math blog, there's over 800 math blogs out there. And we're all trying to do the same thing, which is really boost that confidence in kids and knowledge in kids. And I started thinking about what the real underlying problem was and went, oh my gosh, look at what we're doing to our children and we don't even know it. And then you look at the reading campaign. Everybody reads to their kids. And if you don't, by golly, you don't say it, right? I mean, even to your 6-week-old or your 1-year-old, they're not going to learn how to read. I promise. They really aren't. But yet parents still read to them because they're creating a culture in the home that is positive toward reading. So that's kind of what we're trying to do with math, is create that positive culture so that kids go into the classroom when they're in kindergarten or first grade and they go, oh, math, oh yeah, sure, no problem. We do that all the time.
Well, give us an idea. I mean, this is very intriguing for me, as it was when I first heard it. How do you go about this? I mean, what does your program do that brings math into a positive light in the home?
So we tried a lot of different kinds of things. I mean, we had full-on parent training programs at one point. Well, what we figured out was that parents want something very small, very easy, no anxiety that they can do that they know makes a big difference. And so what we have is, and it's actually currently in development, the That's Math program is a program by which a teacher will log in, will do a search on what they're teaching in class that week, and choose some of these math statements that go home to parents via text messaging. So the teacher says, okay, these are the ones I want, go. Monday night, parent is at home with their child and they get a text message and they say, oh, okay, there's my text message for today. And it reads something like, while at dinner with your child, notice when they eat half their meal and then say, hey, you've eaten half your dinner. Half is a fraction. And that's it. So the parent doesn't have to do any math problems. They don't have to figure out what's the fashionable way to do subtraction. I know that's all over Facebook right now. Oh, this horrible subtraction. They just mention the words, talk positively about them. You know, we even have some math statements that say, you know, laugh with your child about this. Giggle about the absurdity of ordering 1 million cupcakes for their birthday party, although I'm sure a child would not think that that's absurd. But so that's the general idea. And it's really then getting the parent to not just say it out loud to the child, but also the parents start going, you know what, I never thought about that. You're right. A fraction is, you know, half your sloppy Joe is a fraction, not just the measuring cup that says 1/2 cup sugar.
Well, tell us then, how do you market this program? Is it through the school systems then that you're seeking to market it?
Yes. We actually have one school on board to pilot in the fall, and we're looking at a handful more. Of course, right now is a very influx time for schools because I think this week is our last week of school. So we'll be talking to quite a few schools next week. And right now, as the pilot program, we're not doing any charging people for the service. We're looking for 5 schools to pilot and to get it in there so we can actually see, okay, so do they use it? Do they say it? What is the change? You know, how is this actually working, and is it being effective?
Well, personally, it sounds like a great idea, and someone who's a parent now, a grandparent, the idea to interject into our family culture, if you will. I like your example of half. You finished half your meal, and that's a fraction. Fractions were always our challenge. I recall that from years ago. So that's an interesting thing. Well, you're in a startup mode, obviously, and you're getting into what I call beta testing. What is, and I asked this of Susan earlier, what is the biggest challenge you face daily at this point in building your business?
Well, I think it is because it is so new and such a different concept. I still get people going, oh yeah, that company that you're doing, tutoring, right? It is not tutoring. It is for the parent, and a lot of times parents don't want to focus any of the effort on themselves, and so it's a big change management thing, you know, because parents don't even think twice about reading to their children, even though they don't really know why they're doing it, underlying everything, but they just do it. That's just the way it is. So we're actually making literally a huge global change in the way parents do things. And so I think that's the big challenge.
Well, it's what I call a big idea. I mean, you've got an idea that no one's done before, and that is a challenge for anybody. But we always remember Facebook was a big idea too, right? Well, this is interesting. Let me ask you then, as we did with Susan in the previous segment, your involvement in the business plan competition, the New Spring competition, which I need to issue first a correction because we had a correction in the studio. You actually placed second, not
Yes.
third, is my email indicated that I got. But congratulations on that. Let's add about your involvement. How did you get involved in that program?
So, as I mentioned, I've been teaching at the college level for quite some time, and I was actually adjuncting at HCC, and Sandra's group was testing out some food for a program or something, and she said, she came to my office and said, come over and have lunch with us because we have to get rid of this food. And so, of course, I felt obligated to go, what do you guys do? And they said, well, we're this small business entrepreneurship. And I went, holy cow, my goodness, I need to be a part of this. And so she started telling me about the different things. And I said, okay, so where do I sign up for the class? As a startup, we didn't qualify for Goldman Sachs. So I took the HCC class, which was really fun because I had students in the class with me as partner students that had previously or currently were in my math classes. So I was teaching them math and then going and sitting right next to them learning business. So, which I really think business is probably way harder than math because there's just so many details. So, but that's how I ended up in it.
So you leveraged or you got your business education because you had no business background, I assume, generally speaking. So you got that education at HCC through the basically drawn into the competition, so to speak.
Exactly. And I wouldn't say that I've even finished it. I've taken one class and I just all through the year the semester I was writing down, okay, I need that class. No, okay, I need that class. Oh, that class too. Because, oh my gosh, this stuff is such a whole different world than, academic stuff.
Right. Well, that's interesting, very interesting. What do you think the key was to you winning second place?
That's a really good question. Passion, incredible goofiness and willing to get out there and put a snake on your slide deck. I mean, so the big principle was math is not a snake.
Right.
And so,
I remember.
Yes.
So you did have a lot of creativity in what you did, and your involvement. Did you have a team? I can't recall. It was just.
I was the army of one.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You were by yourself. Yes. Susan had a big piece of her company involved, and you were on your own. How do you feel about that? Did that make a difference?
I don't know. I think that there are just as many challenges having a full team as there are being a single person. I know that our two advisors were just amazing. So, I would get in there like a dirty shirt and try something out. And the look in their eyes when they first saw something was like, oh, goodness, she's never going to be able to do anything. But then, just taking in all their feedback and then putting it all together. And then the next thing they were like, oh, my gosh, you listened and you did this. So
well, and to clarify, those two people were actually business people, like I touched on earlier.
Yes,
so you
very
had the
good,
advantage
high
of
quality.
2-on-1.
Yes,
so that's cool.
Yes,
that's cool. It sounds like you really enjoyed the competition as well.
I did.
That's neat. I think it's a great challenge and can be a lot of fun. I know there's a lot of nervousness in the night presentation, but great program. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk in depth about the business plan competition and really a little bit more about education, because I think if you haven't seen so far today, talking to both of these ladies, education can be a very, very important part of starting a business, particularly if you have no experience per se in doing that. So, ladies and gentlemen, please stay with us, and we'll be right back with you with our final segment.
You're listening to Lone Star Internet Radio. Now for your daily weather report. Today's Monday, June 2nd, 2014. Today's weather forecast is a 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mostly sunny with a high near 89. Later tonight, it will be partly cloudy with a low around 70.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Donald-Wick Public Relations. You've seen the billboards. That's right, Wicked Publicity. Contact them today at 832-326-1965 and visit wickedpublicity.com.
Hello, I'm Bonita DeRosa, Animal Control Officer for the City of Willis. We invite you to tune in to Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. for the Willis Hour. On the first Thursday of the month, the Willis Hour will be covering upcoming events and news about the city. Join in the conversation with your city officials and other leaders in the community. On the third, we will be doing a recap of the last City Council meeting. The mission of the City of Willis is to provide high-quality services, accountability, and professional commitment to our citizens. We pledge to provide those who live, work, and visit our city an effective government that is open and responsive to the needs and values of the community. Again, we invite you to tune in on Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 for the Willis Hour.
Tri-County Services provides services to children and adults with mental illnesses, substance abuse disorders, and intellectual developmental disabilities in Montgomery, Liberty, and Walker counties. Offices are located in Conroe, Cleveland, Liberty, and Huntsville. Some mental health services offer focus on resilience and recovery. Services and supports for individuals with intellectual development disabilities focus on skill development and independence. Tri-County Services offers 24/7 crisis intervention and evaluation with crisis hotline 1-800-659-6994. And their mobile crisis outreach team. Psychiatric crisis treatment is available at Psychiatric Emergency Treatment Center in Conroe. Substance abuse services include treatment for both youth and adults. Substance abuse prevention classes are also provided for younger children and teenagers. Peer support services for veterans are also offered by Tri-County Services. For more information about all programs provided by Tri-County Services, call 936-521-6100 or visit our website at www.tricountyservices.org.
Welcome back to the Weekly Business Show. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor. We have two of the ladies here now joining us again to kind of wrap up. We've got Sandra Louvier here, who's the director of the School of Entrepreneurship at Houston Community College, and Susan Marriott is back with us, and bioscience writers. We've heard from both of them earlier, and we're going to kind of take this last bit of time we have with you today and kind of dig a little deeper in the education, hopefully give you more of a sense of what's available in the various programs that we've touched on today. Sandra, would you and Susan like to talk about how she became involved in getting some education for a business through the Goldman Sachs program and what led into the business plan competition? Because you've got a lot of experience with both.
Sure. Well, so Susan, why don't you tell the viewers or the listeners a little bit about how you got involved in the Goldman Sachs program, and then after that we can talk a little bit more about the experience of the business plan competition, because it is a little different in that it's a working competition and lasts 2 or 3 months where you learn and grow and progress within the competition. So first let's start with the Goldman Sachs program. How did you hear of it? How did you get involved in it?
I heard about Goldman Sachs through the newspaper in the small business page of the Houston Chronicle. Multiple times I had seen articles about this program, and finally I decided it's something we should do. And I should step back to say that I don't have any business background, and our company was just kind of doing reasonably well without a whole lot of knowledge of what we were doing. And I felt like I had blinders on. I was just doing my thing, and the company was doing reasonably well, and I didn't pay much attention to any of the other resources that were around me in Houston. But this kept hitting me in the face as I was reading the newspaper, and I thought, this looks like something that would benefit me. I mentioned earlier that time is a big factor, and the Goldman Sachs program takes a lot of time, and that was a little bit of a concern to me. But I thought I should apply for this and see what it's all about. So you go online, you fill out a rather extensive survey of questions and answers and information about the company, And I didn't know anything about how my company would fare in terms of the rest of the companies that were applying. So I submitted that and thought, they probably won't be interested in me. And then I got a call or an email, something telling me that I was invited to an interview, which is the next step in that process, which I was a little nervous about, again, because I hadn't really talked about my company as a business with anyone else other than, my husband and other people in the company. So I went to that interview, and I met a person, Richard Cohen, who ended up to be my business advisor, and he was there that day and told me, don't worry, it's all going to be fine. And he was kind of giving me a lot of encouragement as I went into the interview. Then when I went to the interview, it was 3 individuals, and they were asking questions that really got me excited. They were asking things about what my application, and they seemed excited about the company, and I was able to answer the questions and tell them all the things that we were excited about doing. And so then I thought, maybe they're actually interested in my company. And then, of course, we got selected for it. And so that was my process of getting into it, really naive, I believe. And then after we entered the program, of course, I became aware of this enormous number of opportunities that are available through HCC and other organizations. We've also gotten involved with Small Business Development Center and other groups, and we've been able to maintain contact with these business advisors. So my Goldman Sachs business advisor and the business advisors through the New Spring HCC competition. It's all just been really an amazing experience.
Wonderful. Okay, now tell us a little bit about the business plan competition, how you got into it, and then what the experience was of moving through it, because it's so different from other competitions out there.
Right. Well, I got into that program because of you, Sandra. So you called and said, Susan, maybe this would be something that your company would be interested in. And I had seen it again, and I thought, well, we just did Goldman Sachs. We did a program. We did a business plan for that. Do we really need another business plan competition? But Sandra called me and said, I think this could be something you would benefit from. And she explained the idea that this HCC New Spring competition would involve 5 team members, and that really excited me because I could see the value of Goldman Sachs, but I wasn't really able to share it effectively with the company. And so that's the really thing that tipped me over the edge of wanting to participate. And yes, it was a great experience to have the classes and interact with the instructors in that class, not only hearing what they had to say, but actually talking with them after class as well, not only for myself, but also the rest of the company. It really empowered us as a whole.
Wonderful.
Let me ask you a quick question, kind of jump in here because we're a little bit short of time today. I mean, that whole process that you went through, and you used the word naive, but you had a business, so you were going on just the fact that I think probably you were strong in an industry you knew about. Obviously, you have a deep background, and you knew there was a need because you've been there. And that's one example of why people start businesses, because they're in something and they sense a need. If people wanted to get in touch with you, say there happened to be a scientist out there or two, somebody wanted to contact your company, didn't know about it, which I can't imagine based on what you just told me and what I know about grant writing and stuff, how do they get in touch with you?
Sure. You can go to our website of our company. It's www.biosciencewriters.com, and there's lots of information and contact information there. To contact me personally, my email address is Susan-2014, that's SUSAN-2014 at biosciencewriters, it's all one word, in plural, .com.
Well, Susan, I deeply appreciate you joining the program. We're going to ask Bon to step up and take your chair for a moment and talk a little bit with Sandra about her involvement, because she came a totally different route to the business plan competition. So there are multiple ways for students and business people to get involved, and I think it's important we all know that. So, Sandra, take it away.
Okay. Well, Bon, you did mention in the earlier segment that you became aware of this through seeing me and coming to one of our events, and then you enrolled in the class. So tell us a little bit more about the experience of the class and how it helped you prepare a basic draft of a plan, and then how the business plan competition evolved that and made it better. Again, it's a very unusual competition in that it takes 2.5 months to move through it, and there's a lot of growth and instruction and guidance in it. So tell us the difference between the class and the competition and how one fed you well into the other.
So it was interesting because a lot of people take the class first and then enter the competition. but I was taking them simultaneously. So I was reading the content out of the textbook and learning in the class, and then learning in the seminar series for the business plan competition. And everything was sort of coming together somewhat simultaneously, but sometimes there would be things in the class that were ahead of the things in the business plan seminar, and sometimes it was reverse. And so it was a really interesting trying to manage all the timelines and all the pieces, and but it went really nicely together.
Wonderful. That's right. I remember now, you were one of the few that were accepted in applying to take the class concurrently with a competition. And so that is an exception to the rule that applicants can apply for, but they have to talk about their past experience. And since Vaughn had math experience before, it was determined that she could potentially handle that pace. So I applaud you for that, because that is the most intense pace possible.
You know, one thing is, and as we come to the end of the show, I want to give you some time to talk a little more in depth about the programs, because we've talked about a class, we no specifics if I was interested about what these classes. But before we do that, Bon, people want to get in touch with you, the Math Mom. How do we get in touch with you?
So I am, if you Google Bon Crowder, you can find me on a bazillion different places, whatever your preferred, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Pinterest or my website or whatever. But if you're interested in the That's Math program, you can go to thatsmath.com. There is a YouTube video, there's a SlideShare presentation, there's an infographic that you can check out to get a better idea of what you're interested in. And you're always welcome to call or text me at 713-557-8048.
Well, Bon, I appreciate it. You absolutely are one of the folks with the big idea. I personally like the idea because I helped raise 6 kids and got a slew of grandchildren, and I think math deserves a lot more attention. So thank you for joining us and talking about your participation and your second place finish in the competition. Now, Sandra, we've got a couple of minutes. Would you kind of wrap up and tell us about the more direct or more specific about the educational opportunities that are available out there at HCC and even the Goldman Sachs program as well?
Sure. Well, first of all, the Centers for Entrepreneurship are at numerous colleges. I'm at HCC Northwest, but we have other Centers for Entrepreneurship as well. And they're all dedicated to startups and to help people who are perhaps not large enough to get into Goldman Sachs yet, but still interested in growing their companies. So the Centers for Entrepreneurship classes are for startup entrepreneurs and for smaller entrepreneurs and those that are applying for the Goldman Sachs program. And we have a 1-class and competition pathway, the business plan certificate, 3-course path and competition, and then the 8-course certificate of entrepreneurship and the competition. And those are all available, more information, at HCC BizConnect, BIZCONNECT.org, hccbizconnect.org. Now, I mentioned the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. Google HCC Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses, and the website tells you all about how to apply for that. We also have a new Minority Business Development Agency, which is geared toward helping established business owners get more contracts and grow through exporting. And Minority Business Development Agency, Googled at HCC, will get you to a page talking about that. Then we have workshops and seminars, all available in exporting, in small business growth, we're having veteran entrepreneurship seminars coming up soon. So hccbizconnect.org is another place to find out about that, and HCC Entrepreneurship.
Boy, and I'll tell you, there's lots and lots, obviously, just listening to Sandra. And I've got to put a plug in for the Silver Foxes I can't miss, because we mentor, we provide CEO roundtables. In fact, we're connected with the Goldman Sachs program and have several roundtables from graduates with that. That's no cost and that's someone who's got a business running. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're thinking about starting a business, all I can say is seek out some education. As Sandra said, and as you've heard from these 2 participants in this business plan competition, they both have gotten education out of the program and otherwise, and I think they both made it real clear. It has helped what they're doing. I have no doubt in their cases particularly they're going to be extremely successful in what they do, and I want to thank everybody for joining us. and wish your families a great week out there. And thank you again for joining us today. And until next week, please keep your dial right where it is on Montgomery County's community radio, irlonestar.com, broadcasting from the heart of downtown Conroe. See you next week, partner.
Hey everyone, this is Tina, your host from Retro Saturdays. I wanted to invite you to visit the Lone Star Studios here in downtown Conroe, Texas. We're all volunteers here, and we need your help in serving the Montgomery County area. Radio media is a fun field to be in. Lone Star Internet Radio serves Montgomery County with news, current events, local programming, and of course, music. If you are interested in volunteering and sharing your talents in media, go to irlonestar.com and let us hear from you. Lone Star Internet Radio, serving Montgomery County from the heart of downtown Conroe.